Today we're joined by, I think, the can we call him our spiritual son, the person we gifted the Enlightened Centrist title to, P.F.
Yes,
Young.
yes.
Yeah, feudal
We're,
vassal. Yeah, yeah. I'll
we're
take
no
it.
Oh, I
longer
like that's better.
we're no longer centrist, so you can have the label.
Yeah.
It's
Oh well.
all
Listen,
yours.
it's beautiful. That's what we got to discuss because
You've taken it from us.
yeah, and it drastically improved it.
Oh,
Wow.
cool.
Oh,
That's what I want to
this is
hear.
the thing. Listen, you birth the child, you raise them up, and
Look
then
at
they
this.
stab you in
How do
the
you
back.
mad?
Okay.
It is
Terrible.
true. Adam shared my video. That one of my videos that got me over 1,000 subscribers.
Well, there you
Wow,
go.
So
look at
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Good
now
job.
it's like
Mhm.
So how's the brand going? What's going on with that?
what's going on with centrism?
Yeah.
It's rough out here. It's rough out here for a centrist, guys.
Oh yeah, that's why we got rid of it. We
Mhm.
realized we
Yeah.
sold
What
at
is
the
it?
top.
Yeah. It's funny because it is the correct philosophy, obviously.
Mhm.
But from a
Obviously.
branding perspective,
Oh, it's shit. Yeah.
it's a little rough.
It's the Timu of politics.
That was the point. That was the whole point of the whole point of enlightened centrism. That's what I was. I didn't. My channel
Well,
didn't
that
set
was
out like
always a
that.
joke for us. The
Well, but that
enlightened.
was the point. No, no, no.
Obviously, we like dick jokes here. We're
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
very
not
humble,
enlightened at all.
obviously. Yeah.
it was, and it still is somewhat of a productive enterprise to co-opt a meme and try to take the power back from a slur
Oh
and
yeah.
make it powerful again.
Mhm.
Like
Yes, of
I'm
course.
doing what black people did with the
Drop some
N-word.
M-bombs.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, right.
It's
Centrism and the N-word are
it's
like,
slightly
yeah, like
lower
the same
stakes.
thing.
It's slightly
Right.
lower stakes, but like enlightened centrist obviously uses a slur, but it's like, well, hold on a second. Almost invariably, the correct perspective is always, hey, let's consider, both sides here and try and synthesize something new.
Ooh,
And it's usually
both
just,
sides. That is a slur.
well, I know both sides is them,
Everyone
it's like,
hates anytime you say both sides. Everyone's like, "Meow."
I know. Well,
They
that
get
was
super pissed.
hence the point of trying to make enlightened centrism great again, which of course it's always been great, but I will be doing another rebranding here soon enough that I think will be the
What?
final
Oh my
rebranding. Yeah,
god!
yeah, it'll be good.
Wow. What's the read?
Oh
Do you
yeah,
know? Can we get a sneak peek?
You're
I know what
basically
it
like
is.
re-gifting our gift. Well,
I know it.
who's gonna carry the mantle then
Mm-mm.
if you're dumping it?
It's still, don't worry, it's still a thing. I didn't know, were you guys unironically, or what would you say, meta-ironically, making enlightened centrism great again?
Well,
I'm
I
going to say
mean,
yes, even though I don't know what that means.
Were you explicitly using the label, like to say, like the enlightened centrist position here is, and then give the correct take? Was that something you guys were doing for a while? Or is it just centrism? Because I knew you guys were the centrist vanguard or whatever, and the Jordan Peterson Defense Force some years ago.
I don't remember when we did start using the term enlightened centrist because I remember we had YouTuber or a fan enlightened centrist, took up the label. I don't I don't remember what year that was, Adam, in our streaming career or how that all came
I mean
about
that was kind of just from the beginning. Yeah,
from the beginning. Okay.
yeah. Well, look,
There's nothing. Mhm.
I think like 90% of arguments, like political arguments on the internet, are straw man versions of the other team. And it seems like a lot of people just believe those
Correct.
straw man arguments, like they don't really understand whoever their political opposite is, they don't understand those perspectives. So we were kind of just trying to explain to people both perspectives, and obviously a lot of people who understand both perspectives, um, they found our commentary interesting there. Obviously, I think there's a lot more conservatives that understand progressives than there are progressives that understand conservatives. So I think that's why our audience leans conservative, is because the
Yeah.
conservatives like understand. And a lot of progressives just they think conservatives are just bigoted, racist, greedy assholes. So
We are also in the online political space. At least it's hard to say because it's not a geographical space. So even just using the term space is difficult because, like, it's certainly leans left. Like if you have people like Destiny kind of at the forefront of the political YouTube commentary space, but then you also have
mhm.
like Tim Pool, who obviously leans right, and so it's hard to say. But I think,
How dare you? Tim Pool is a centrist. Okay.
yeah, Tim Pool. No, Tim Pool's a Russian. That's what he is.
Oh, okay, that's
Um,
fair.
but yeah, it's interesting. Increasingly, I think I want to ask you guys what the current state of centrism is or should be. So you don't call yourself centrist anymore. So what do you guys call yourselves?
I use independent. Just independent is more accurate. Like a lot of people, and you probably found discovered this, right? A lot of people think centrist means neutral.
Yeah, correct. Or moderate.
Yeah,
It's like, no.
yeah, they think you're basically like you're above it all. You're not going to take sides. I take sides all the time. So, but
Yeah.
I've taken right wing positions and left wing positions. I mean, I probably have a lot more left wing positions than right wing positions. So it's funny that I got caught up in this whole Adam is a secret right winger meme that was going around just because that's not remotely true or accurate.
Yeah, well, it's mainly Destiny fans that push that type of stuff. They're very active, which, to their credit, they know how to win a meme war, right? Get a bunch of autists on a single subreddit and coordinate communication efforts. It works.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean,
think,
I'm probably more for redistribution of economic policies. So, I mean,
yeah,
obviously, I think a lot of the, the Reddit community they're basically all socialist communists. So,
yeah.
I
Well,
do
this
think
is
wealth inequality is a problem, but I don't, their answer is we have to get rid of capitalism, which is just ridiculous.
correct. I think the future of radical centrism, which is or cultural centrism, or whatever label you want to call it, whatever the meta meme is, the future is uh, steel manning and robbing the far right and far left of their only good talking points, and then integrating that into something that is not explicitly right wing or explicitly left wing. Like, the left is absolutely correct when it comes to neoliberal capitalism being a problem. I used to, anytime someone would, I have a minor in gender studies. So in gender studies classes,
Oh my God.
yeah, I would hear people say neoliberal, and I was like, when I heard someone say neoliberal, it was the same as hearing a grandma say snowflake. It's like, okay, if you unironically use the word snowflake to describe people, I already can predict your worldview. And the same thing with neoliberalism. But now
so
it's
many
like,
people on the right don't know what neoliberalism is. It's
yeah,
weird.
I know,
Yeah.
and they don't realize that to leftists, neoliberal means right wing,
Yes.
which is just
Well,
a
it's basically
fundamental problem of
libertarian.
communication. Yeah, correct. Libertarian economics, which I think is cancerous. Um, so embracing that, saying, "Yep, the neoliberal status quo must end," while still maintaining the right wing, um, perspectives on the necessity of religion. I think nationalism is a good thing if nationalism can be a good thing, and reasonable immigration policies and all that. And that's radically centrist because it takes the best of both sides. Um, but nobody, it sounds kind of fucking lame when you call it that. So it really is. It's like, you guys see Mean Girls?
Of course.
Mean Girls, not recently.
Yeah, you can't make fetch a thing. It's tough.
Is that a movie? Mean Girls?
Yeah, Mean
You've
Girls.
never seen Mean Girls? Jesus Christ.
And one of the characters tries
Oh
to make
my
fetch a thing
God.
like it's cool.
This movie exudes estrogen, and Sitch
Isn't
is
that a
like,
Lindsay Lohan movie? Everyone
Sitch
loves
is
Mean
like,
Girls.
oh
think
my
so.
God, you haven't
Everyone,
seen
wait,
Mean
nah.
Girls?
You're-
FT
Holy
Signifier
shit.
said it's one of his favorite movies.
Oh my
That-
God,
okay, you
haven't
just
seen
made Adam's argument. What
Twilight?
are you talking about?
What do you
No.
call it?
No, first of all, wait, hold on. On Mean Girls, you're wrong. Mean Girls is a beloved movie by all genders and sexes and everything in
Really?
between, obviously. Yes. I've
Okay.
never, ever heard anyone speak ill of Mean Girls.
The 2004 classic Mean
Yes.
Girls.
Yes.
Oh, with Lindsay Lohan. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I
And she
think-
tries to make fetch like mean cool. Like, that's so
Yes,
fetch.
right.
And no one buys
Streets
onto it.
ahead. Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's a great mimetic challenge to make radical centrism or enlightened centrism a thing. Although my new rebranding, I think I'm going to get it this time. We'll see.
Well, I think the issue with why it's not sticky is a lot of the people that are kind of naturally drawn towards quote centrism or independence or whatever usually try to be the people I think that like their temperament is more chill. And right now people don't want chill. Everyone's
No, they
angry.
don't.
Yeah,
Right.
So
everyone
true.
wants you to be like
Hence the
pounding
radical
table.
centrism.
Right. Well, there you go. Everyone wants you to be pounding the table and screaming and telling how everything's horrible. But what I don't buy is there are some people who are usually like the pundits on the far left and the far right who talk about how, America's thirsty for these extreme ideological changes. And I think those people are completely wrong because even if you listen to Trump, one of Trump's big talking points is common sense politics. And in America, people love the idea of common sense politics. And what is common sense politics except for
Cultural
centrism?
centrism.
Exactly. And so
Cultural
you just,
centrism.
we
I'm not
really
a
need,
Christian. I'm a cultural Christian.
there
I'm
you
not a
go. I like that.
centrist.
Cultural centrism. I
I'm a
love it.
cultural
But
centrist.
that's, so I think in terms of the future, if you or a politician or somebody wants to really like make centrism a dominant force in the world, I think you're going to have to adopt the pound the desk and talk about how everything's horrible, but then you just frame everything not as, maybe this is the thing. We should get rid of the term centrist because it's not popular and just replace it with, I'm on the side of common sense, right? I'm a common sense politician, a common sense ideologue.
Yeah, well, realistically, you just like, I mean, well, if you're talking about actual politics, it just comes down, I mean, that becomes like a party game where it's like, okay, we have to get like common sense Republicans and common sense Democrats or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So that's a separate thing. Ideologically, I don't know, like Bill Maher is constantly pushing for the common sense perspectives in the center. Joe Rogan, there's people on the left, far left, people on the far right, everyone's in the center. So it's like it's I think you're right. It is common sense and is understood. Um, do you guys ever want to, do you ever have plans of channeling your online influence into political activism in any way, like Destiny did with canvassing?
Look, I think Destiny failed with his activism. So,
Really? With the canvassing efforts in Georgia with Warnock? He
well,
arguably might
look,
have tipped that election single-handedly given how close it was and how many
I,
people he brought down.
I think he
politics is
means in
about the
terms of,
next election.
right, right. I think he means in
Yeah.
terms of future career, in terms of
Oh, yeah,
offline.
I'm not talking about Destiny's relevance now. I'm saying
Yeah.
as an example of an online figure who
Hmm.
leveraged their audience to engage in real life political activism that could
I
have had a
just,
material
look,
change. Is that in
I
your
don't even know
guys'
who I'm going to
worldview?
vote for. Why am I supposed to get out there and decide ahead of
Not for
time
people
who
so much,
other
but like
people
for
should vote
policies.
for?
Here's the hypothetical, right?
That's what's crazy. I couldn't see in the last election how anybody could be advocating for any of these people. I
Yeah,
was like, what the fuck?
federal. I think never in a federal sense. I think that doesn't make any sense. But like, let's say, for example, hypothetically, let's say ranked choice voting was on the ballot for Texas or something like that, or
Right.
some state where it was reasonable to adopt. And it's like, hey, a year from now, we know that ranked choice voting will be on the ballot, and
Canvassing for ranked choice voting.
radical centrists would certainly agree.
Well, I would
Ranked choice
endorse
voting is good.
you canvassing for ranked choice voting. I
Well,
definitely would.
listen,
If you wanted to do it, I would
listen,
say yes, do that.
listen. I talk a lot of shit online, and
Uh-huh.
every day I think, I
I'm
should
gonna
be turning.
canvass. Do you
I should be
really want to
turning.
canvass? Why do you want to canvass?
I'm not saying canvassing specifically, but I'm saying I think the future of I think the future landscape of politics will be dominated by alternative media, quote unquote.
Hmm.
And the biggest gap that needs to be overcome is translating widespread influence online that's very diffuse
We
into
all,
concentrated political activism. And I think if it was something like, yeah, like ranked choice voting is on the ballot in Tennessee, get like 100, 200 people from across the spectrum to come down and I don't know, I don't know anything about fucking political activism, canvassing, stuff like that. I'm just asking hypothetically. I'm not committing anything right now. I'm gauging the waters. I'm
I
testing to
think you're
see.
greatly overestimating my influence. So,
You perhaps, but
yeah.
Sitch,
Oh, okay.
Yes,
people listen to Sitch.
that's
People
true.
are
I have
influenced.
no interest in what you're speaking of at all.
Interesting. So you guys just what is it? You're like the two Muppets, the two old men that
Yes.
just strip on the sidelines.
What are their names? Standorf? They have weird names. Waldorf?
Oh, that's a good name. I'll be Waldorf. I
I
like
mean,
that.
obviously, no. I
Can I
mean,
be Wendell?
Statler and Waldorf. There you go. You be Waldorf, I'll be Statler. I'm down with
Perfect.
that.
Statler.
As we discussed last time, I think we were talking about no,
Why do
I think
you
the first
bring
time.
that up? Do you think activism? Look,
Is
first
that
of
the
all,
direction you're going?
I'm certainly interested in finding out how to stop just talking shit online and actually make material impacts.
oh,
And
okay.
I think these platforms are interesting and have a lot of potential. And even if I'm like I'm very just picking on the one example of like bringing people together to canvas. I'm not even saying that's most necessarily most effective, but even if it was just like, um, like I see, like you guys know Andrew Wilson.
Yeah.
He's been on Piers Morgan a couple times. I've talked to
Hmm.
him. Um, I've seen him talk about how he wants to leverage his audience to do something like reform for like divorce court or something like that, which is like, all right, Andrew Wilson is
Hmm.
certainly far right by his own definition, and he's got all kinds of problems. But I greatly respect Andrew as a personal acquaintance. Um, And everyone, even leftists would agree, like, yeah, the divorce court's pretty fucked up, like, and skewed kind of against men. Like, there's probably stuff that could be reformed about it. I don't know in particular, but I believe that's the vibe. So if Andrew, who's very far right, does something that's actually pretty good, that even left wing people would agree is good, that's an example of like, okay, here you have online influencers leveraging their audience to achieve actual practical good material outcomes that are, somewhat different from the kind of just meme, like, we need to be Christian nationalists, all that stuff. Like they're actually converting it into real material political action. And I think that trend is going to continue. And I think it's interesting. And I'm just, like I said,
I think that's
I'm just
well,
talking shit right now, yo. I'm
I
just
think
testing the
it's
waters.
terrifying. I think it's terrifying. Okay. Because everyone on space is retarded, like us. I don't want these
Mhm.
people out in the real world. Keep them
Speak for yourself.
keep them isolated, except for you. You're the one exception. Okay.
I
But
try.
everyone else, keep them isolated. Keep us all isolated in our little internet spheres. I mean, like what you're talking with, I don't know what he's advocating for with divorce courts. I agree divorce courts are fucked. And even if someone I don't agree with ideologically can bring a good change in the world, I'll applaud that. But obviously I don't want, and I assume you don't want Christian nationalism to become some predominant force going forward. And what I worry about is, it seems like a lot of people don't, some people mellow out as they get older, but a lot of people, they kind of like their political views get cemented when they're in their 20s. And so we're going to be kind of going forward with this generation where a large contingent of people on the left are literal socialists now for the rest of their lives, probably. And probably a smaller contingent, but still too large that makes me comfortable on the right, on the far right going forward, are going to just be like, anti Semitic Christian nationalists. And those people are going to influence politics, for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't just, I agree, all that's bad. Um, but that's sort of beside the point from, like, I'm willing to work with someone who hates fucking white people if it means getting ranked choice voting passed. You know? Like
Sure,
if
I guess. I mean, I
if
don't
there was
know.
if there
Maybe.
was a YouTuber who
Right.
had like who could bring 100 people to
Uh-huh.
Tennessee to do canvassing for ranked choice
Is
voting,
this on the
and
ballot
that
in Tennessee? I
no,
thought
but in
this was just like a
I'm just giving an
hypothetical.
example.
Okay. I can't imagine ranked choice voting being on the ballot in
In
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I just picked one because it's
Even
centrally located. But
even California, I think it would be tough.
there's a few states that
So,
have already done it for
oh
federal
really?
elections too. I believe I could be wrong. I believe
Hmm.
Alaska. Um, states that have
That's funny.
Well, don't worry about it. Don't worry
implemented.
about it. Well, do
Yeah.
you worry if you, because I understand the idea, like if there's a person that, they believe some crazy shit, they like hate white people or whatever, super racist against white people, but you have some alignment and you work with them. On one hand, you say, okay, that's good because you'll get this thing changed in the real world. But on the other hand, is it bad
Is it
because
empowering them?
you're then empowering them in the future to become a more relevant political force?
Um, Maybe. I sort of view it like, you guys ever play Uncharted Drake's Fortune?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, there's a great, I'm gonna have to make a video just dedicated to this one scene where basically like one of the last missions, there's the main enemy that you're like fighting all along, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
the last mission is you two finally meet, but that and you're about to kill each other and fight, but then a bunch of these like zombies basically come out, and it's like, oh fuck, we have to fight. Like we hate each other, but neither of us are gonna make it out unless we kill the zombies. So there's a scene where they go back to back and they have like the guns facing the zombies, and
Who are the
the
zombies in this hypothetical?
the zombies are everyone who's opposed to ranked choice voting.
Okay. Is this your big issue? I didn't know this was your big issue with ranked
It's
choice
an,
voting.
I mean, it's an example of an issue that I think most informed people would agree with, left or right. It's incredibly
Mm-hmm.
non-partisan. And so it's sort of that, and I would say like rapid adoption of nuclear energy. Like let's build more nuclear power plants.
Mm-hmm.
That's more of an
The
engineering
main
thing than it is a
political
political
parties
thing.
are always going to be against ranked choice voting because it
Correct.
completely takes away their power. So,
Correct. Well, I'm very
Democrats and
much against the
Republicans,
two-party. I think the
yeah.
two-party system is a systematic problem
But that's
that a
like
radical centrist should
60%.
oppose.
That's 60% of the electorate, though, right there. And a motivated 60%
Yeah,
because
but
it's like the 30% base of the Republicans and the 30% base of the Democrats.
true. I'll have to confirm, but several states have implemented ranked choice voting for their like senators and stuff, and even I think for
Right.
president too.
In,
So
in state elections,
it can be
maybe?
done.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you've got a chat. Someone in chat confirm if I think Alaska does their presidential elections with ranked choice voting. But anyway, that's like a simple example. I mean, another one. Well,
Doesn't Andrew Wilson want to make OnlyFans illegal? Maybe you could canvas for that.
When you said doesn't Andrew
I'm good.
Wilson want to OnlyFans for like a second, I was like, what?
He wants to make.
Hold on, but to my point, to my point about
illegal.
to my
I
point
think
about
he
the
might want to
uncharted
make pornography illegal.
to my point about the uncharted back-to-back guns out. My point is, I don't see the argument against working with someone you hate and are fundamentally opposed to, if you both agree on a specific policy that would make everything better. Because it's like, all right, look. We're still going to fight no matter what.
If they're going to do most of the work, I'm down to work with
them. Yeah. Exactly. Look, like I said, I'm just putting feelers out there. Okay.
Do you think that Hassan and Destiny are going to get completely like shut out of the mainstream politics now, or is everyone just going to forgive them, not care?
Why would Hassan get shut out?
For the Ethan nuke drop and supporting terrorism and all that shit.
No, I think Destiny will be around unless he goes to prison.
Well, he'll be around, but I don't know if he's going to.
There's no way
Destiny's
going to prison. So.
No, unless the Cherry allegations go through, because that's an actual crime. The other one from Pixie, I think her name is the civil suit. But anyway, no, Hassan will be around because he's too popular with the fucking Queers for Palestine crew,
right?
And yeah, so, and like I'd be very hesitant, for example, in this future radical centrist political coalition that goes from state to state, leveraging its terminally online audience to come out and touch grass and also engage in coordinated political action. You would have to be fairly strict on which influencers you like, because even if it was Destiny, it's like, well, if it was ranked choice voting, again, I'll work with anyone on that. And I don't know, like your point about do I worry about it empowers them? It's like, why
you can't say you'd work with anyone?
Doesn't it empower me just as much? Like, I don't see what the issue is.
Everyone has their line though. Like, you'd work with a child molester?
No, I would not work with.
See, obviously, because it's gonna make you look bad.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that autistic correction. You mean you'll work with anyone? You work with anyone? How about
Hitler? Came back to life, and he was like, "Let's do ranked choice voting."
No. If you're going door to door, knocking on doors, and someone's introducing themselves as the child molester, you're like,
"Hello, I'm the friendly neighborhood. I'm on this watch list, okay? But before I tell you, like, how do you feel about ranked choice voting?"
I'll draw the line.
You
can want the extermination of the white race, but
obviously you don't want to be negatively. You don't want your movement negatively associated with like.
But that's the thing. It's not a movement. That's a different because if this is
that everyone against it would just label you a racist.
Right.
That's the problem.
Against.
Like if you were going around knocking on doors,
like if you teamed up with Nick Fuentes for ranked choice voting, I think it would do more harm to the movement.
Yes, it would definitely. It would hurt it. People would be like, ranked choice voting.
I don't know about
that Nazi policy?
Hold on. There's an important distinction. There's an important distinction though. There's like political parties that have multiple platforms, and then there's task forces that are dedicated to specific policies. So like the ranked choice, you call it the ranked choice voting task force or whatever. And the only thing that is common between all the different people who are vile and degenerate in their own ways is that they support ranked choice voting. And because it's a policy that most people support as it is.
Maybe we should explain ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is basically where you rank the politicians that are on the ballot, and you vote for them in order. So you've got your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice. So if the first choice doesn't get enough votes, it goes down to the second choice. But that second choice could be a Nazi. Okay. So
well, no, so like
you could vote for anyone who beats a Nazi. We're talking about that.
Like as soon as
you explained it poorly. No. The better way to explain
the ranked choice. Look, no. Listen. Just let me finish. Like as soon as the ranked choice vote comes in, and everybody's second choice was the Nazi, and the Nazi is elected, or the child molester is elected. You know, if they're left,
what is?
I agree. This is a bad
this
explanation.
everyone is going to be like, "Oh my God, this is ranked choice voting. How did these Nazis and child molesters get on the ballot?"
Adam talking about ranked choice voting is like CNN talking about ivermectin. Okay, just stop.
Wow.
Ranked choice voting.
Oh my God, you're an ivermectin guy.
Ranked choice voting. Ranked choice. Nobody loves horse dewormer more than I do. Ranked choice voting is like imagine that you are going to the function. Okay, doesn't matter what the function is, and there's either vanilla, strawberry, or chocolate ice cream.
Oh my God! Why you're overcomplicating this? Okay, listen. If people, you know how people on the
everyone understood from my explanation.
No,
nobody understood.
Listen. People were like, "Hey, I want to vote for Ron Paul," and they're like, "Well, voting for Ron Paul is a waste.
You're throwing your vote away.
Yeah, you're throwing your vote away. What if you have ranked choice voting? You put Ron Paul at the top as number one. On the off chance he gets enough votes, he would win. But if he doesn't have enough to win, it goes to your second choice. So if you voted for
which is
Donald
Nick
Trump
Fuentes.
or Kamala Harris or whoever, it would automatically go to that way. So then you don't feel like you're wasting your vote.
Correct.
If you put number one on.
I would like if it's like, look, let's just say it was Trump, RFK, and Biden. And people were like, well, look, I would vote for RFK, but I don't want to let Trump win because I want a Democrat to win. So my first choice will be RFK. And if he gets more than 50% of the vote in the first round, or when the votes are tallied up, then he'll win. If he doesn't, then my second vote choice will go to Biden. And then that way I'm not wasting a vote. So it guarantees that you are not wasting your vote.
Right.
And it's been adopted by many, many cities for their local elections and some states for state and federal elections. And basically it's a strong challenge to the two-party system so that it's not just some faceless apparatchik incumbent who's just going to suck off the special interests. You could get sort of a more radical centrist populist, people who are like, yeah, the neoliberal status quo is problematic. But the Democrats and Republicans are too invested in it from a bureaucratic perspective. So all right, I'll avoid the campaign stop when I kick off the movement. We start going to Tennessee for ranked choice voting. I'll DM Sitch, but I'll leave Adam.
What is
I'll leave Adam to the sidelines.
Listen, you can DM me. I'm not going to come out. I'm too lazy.
No, that's fine. Again, I'm not.
I'll support you. I'll send out a tweet. I'll be like, hey, everyone in Tennessee, go hang out with PF Young, and but don't hang out with the Nazis though. You don't want to associate them with ranked choice vote.
Well, look, if the Nazis and the communists are for ranked choice voting, a vote's a vote. You just gotta roll with it. It depends on the issue. It's like nuclear energy. Like, let's say there was a state that was like passing a bill to construct a couple nuclear power plants. It's like everyone agrees it's good, but there's this strong special interest contingent. It's like, I don't care if you're a Nazi or a communist or whoever. Like, I don't care. You being a Nazi or communist isn't going to taint the idea of nuclear energy as such.
He said the word. He had to do it.
Nobody loves tainting nuclear energy.
He had to do it.
I got a question for you guys.
Yeah, what's up?
I was going to change the topic a bit, but
change it.
No, do it. Ranked choice voting is fucking boring. I can't imagine someone standing on my porch trying to convince me this is a good idea.
What happened? I agree. That's what canvassing, I feel like, would make things worse. I don't know.
Canvassing in this day and age? Oh my God.
Ballot harvesting and mail-in voting forgery is what I'm focused on.
Okay. That's good.
You're focusing on increasing those numbers, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. New topic. Jordan B. Peterson.
Yeah.
That's your new topic?
What's up, guys? What's happening with Jordan B. Peterson? What happened to him?
He went to Russia. They put the microchip in his brain, and he got terminally online. I don't know I haven't even listened to like a Jordan Peterson video, I think, in a year.
Last time I went over to his channel, I looked and I'm like, oh my God, his views are like way down. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, because he puts out too many. At a certain point, when you interview too many people, it's like, you got to pick and choose, dude.
Well, look, I never thought he was a good interviewer. I thought he was a terrible interviewer. I mean, I like when people.
His conversations were interesting.
I like when people interview Jordan Peterson. I want to hear what he has to say. But when he interviews other people, like it really becomes like he talks for 85% of the time. I'm like, it's a terrible interview.
I agree. He's better in.
He's still got. Well, his views are all over the place. So I mean, he still gets some really high views.
I think that what happened was Jordan Peterson joined the Daily Wire because everyone on the left was calling him an artard, and so he's like, well, he said explicitly, well, you go where your friends are, and if everyone's on the left calling me an idiot, then I'll join the Daily Wire. And then he joined the Daily Wire, not realizing that it's a bunch of Israeli propaganda and corporate shill bullshit.
Wow.
Who talks about free speech, and then censor and then makes Candace Owens sign an NDA while they're talking shit about her. Deserve it or not, that's just bullshit. Then you have Brett Cooper getting leaving, and Brett Cooper has said it was a bunch of bullshit. Like Jeremy Boring and them are devious people,
Actually,
which I
I
have no
thought she was
doubt.
being kind of mum on the whole situation.
Yeah, but then she was on Sean Ryan's
Oh, okay.
podcast,
She explained why.
well, yeah, I shouldn't put words in her mouth, but I would.
I thought just money. She wanted more money or
She
something.
definitely said that, like her friend who took it over, Reagan, I think her name is, like
Right.
backstabbed her or whatever.
Wow.
And Jeremy Boring,
Bitch.
like, made that. Well, anyway, Jeremy Boring stepped down because, again, I think that they're all a bunch of devious losers. And one of the things they were considering was they were considering selling the Daily Wire to Fox News. It's like, what you're supposed to be a. Remember that whole thing with Steven Crowder where he was like, I'm in a negotiation fight with the Daily Wire?
Mhm.
Because you're supposed to be fighting big tech and being alternative media. And then here you are selling to Fox News. So,
I mean, they
Well,
did
bullshit.
great with that MySpace acquisition. So
There you
did
go.
Fox News buy MySpace?
News Corp did. I think they spent $500 million on it.
George Soros bought Hot Ones.
They're great at going in there right as the business is collapsing.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know,
the goal of Daily Wire was not to be independent media. The goal was to create, well, I guess it was to create like movies and television programming that was outside the Hollywood sphere. So actually, I mean, that could align with Fox pretty well. If
yeah,
that's
but
the
my
direction they
point,
go.
yes, but my point was like they're supposed to be. I mean, Fox is funded by the same pharmaceutical companies and big tech bullshit that funds CNN and all that stuff. So it's like, how are you being an alternative power structure?
But they would be anti-woke.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's so cool. Let's just be anti-woke.
What do you, I mean, what,
It's
yeah,
so
what do you
unique and
think
so
they were going
based.
to be? What do you mean independent from these
Well, it's
people? What does that
interesting
mean? They're like, they're going to make a movie about how pharmaceuticals, destroy the world and create the zombie apocalypse.
No, but
Like,
meaning if you're for free speech,
yeah.
you don't do what they did to Candace Owens, which is make her sign an NDA and then talk shit about her publicly and say, well, we should debate, knowing that they signed an NDA or knowing
Okay, I have a bet with someone about Candace Owens. Okay.
Yeah.
They think that Candace Owens is going to keep going further right. She's going to go so far right that she's going to have to tack back left, and she's going to do the whole like, I got sucked into the right wing echo chamber, but now I'm on the good side again. But I think I don't think that's going to happen. I think she's just going to just go eventually into full Nick Fuentes territory and then stay there or crash out.
Yeah, she's the exact. She was a wasn't she like a radical left activist or something like that?
I wouldn't say radical left. I mean, she sued her school for racism, and then she created the anti-bullying doxing website. And then when Zoe Quinn of Gamergate,
Oops.
thank you. When Zoe Quinn of Gamergate attacked her, I don't know why you did that. She suddenly was like, "Oh, I'm on the right now. Woke stuff is bad."
Yeah, interesting. It's there's a personality type that is the same independent of which side you're on. Like Tucker Carlson and Gavin Newsom are the same person, just one's left, one's right. They're both narcissistic, slick talking,
liars,
tall white guys, basically.
White liars.
Yeah,
you can't trust the whiteys.
Yeah, and Candace
With the
Owens is
slick
like,
back hair.
it's just Candace Owens and Destiny are the same, narcissistic, aggressive, debater type person. And so whatever. The point is, Daily Wire is a bunch of fucking bullshit. And Jordan Peterson knows it. He knows it.
You hate Israel.
He knows it. He knows it. I do hate Israel at this point in history. They deserve to be hated.
Right.
I would like the best for them. But right now, it's completely fair to hate Israel. Just like it's fair to hate Israel or hate Germany during World War II. But
are you still on the Zog train? Because I don't think they're going to rehabilitate.
Oh, you want to talk Zog?
Direction. I mean, briefly. I didn't know if you abandoned it or not. If you're still going with that.
I will say I was watching some of my videos the other day.
What is a Zog thing? We need to know the.
You know what Zog is? Zog is a 3-letter acronym that stands for Zionist Occupied Government. It refers to the degree to which Israel exerts an disgustingly overwhelming amount of influence over U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah, but what's her position on ranked choice voting? That's what I want to know.
Okay, my position on Zog is that it should be opposed. Now, like I said, I was watching one of my videos, and then that it was the archetypal memetics video because I was doing another video. I was pulling something from it, and then I was like, "Damn, that's a good video." And then I watched the video I talked about Zog, and I was like, "It is pretty jarring to go from here's the archetypal substrate. Here's a clip of Jordan Peterson talking about the archetypes. Here's a clip of Richard Dawkins talking about memes. Then skip to a video of Zog."
White
Um,
nationalists, yeah.
but I mean,
Well,
the
you're skipping the key here for I don't know, people don't know. People don't know.
yeah,
Even like so the concept of Zog seems to be used overwhelmingly primarily by groypers and people who hate Jews and
right.
the crazy,
And I'd say yes,
racist types. And so
yes.
I seem like you're like, I'm gonna go on this journey to try to rehabilitate it, I guess, to like make it so you can talk about, you know, Israel's outsized influence on American politics without being a crazy, massive anti-Semitic racist. Now, I
Yeah, I
think
don't think
that's a
that's
losing battle,
right.
but
That's fair.
you do
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I don't choose the words I use based on if bad people use them. It's just like the Charlie Kirk
Yeah,
argument
but
of
that's
socialism.
retarded.
Yeah, but it's like socialism. This is what conservatives say about socialism. You know who else called themselves socialists? The National Socialists. So basically, you're Nazi.
Yeah,
It's
but
like I don't
yet
care.
that's the point. I understand like the intuition, but that is kind of the purpose of language is
Okay,
to
what
associate these things with peoples and terms. And
Zog
if you
stands
have a
for Zionist. And hold on, Nazis say specifically there's no difference between a Zionist and a Jew, which is the dumbest fucking
Mhm,
thing in the world.
right,
And Zog specifically is, if it was Jog, I wouldn't fucking use it. It sounds dumb anyway. Zog sounds like the evil Emperor Zerg. So
it
it's
does
mimetically fit to begin with.
or
And it
Zod.
specifically calls out Zionism, which is
Hmm.
entirely and fundamentally separate from being Jewish as a race. So
Okay,
and it's a term I've seen crop up in people who are not far right, whatever, Nazis or whatever. I've like left wing progressive friends who are not even that online who have brought the term up to me. And it's partly an issue of the anti-Israel sentiment is going to continue to rise. The most important practical um, consideration to make is there has to be a universally understood distinction between Zionist and Jew. Otherwise, you will have like horrible fucking anti-Semitism turn into violence
well, even the term
on a
Zionist
massive
is
scale.
unless you're against the concept of Israel even existing.
Zionism practically now just
Hmm.
means if someone says I'm a Zionist, that what that means practically is I am a strong supporter of Israel. That's basically what that means.
Yeah, but see, even that I think there's a lot of people who'd say that they are in favor of Israel existing, but they don't agree
I'm in
with
favor of
what's
Israel
going
existing
on with
too.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah, but so
correct.
well, then under the classical definition, that would make you a Zionist.
And words mean what most people think they mean, not what the
Most
class.
people, I don't.
Aren't
Most
you
people
the one? Hold on,
online,
you're the one that when I had Rob Nor on,
yes,
you were like, "I'm going to
yeah,
kiss you on the mouth, Paul," because you said it's not about definitions. It doesn't matter what the
yeah,
definition of insurrection is. What
right,
matters is the practical consequences.
of course.
And my read of the vibes is that Zionism simply just means, are you a strong supporter of Israel as
So
a Jewish ethno state, which I don't support.
there's two issues with the Zog thing that kind of relates to the Zionism thing. So it's related, it circles back, which is number one. Um, if you have a group of people who are terrible and they create a term and they're they use it 80% of the time, it's very difficult, if not impossible, for you or someone else to use it without getting, having to go through the hoops of being like, I'm using it, but I don't mean it like the way this other people are doing it, blah, blah, blah. Then a huge chunk of people are never going to believe you anyway. Right. So I don't know if
True.
it's really
Yeah, and
useful from that
I've
context.
seen that already. Okay, but
Of
it's
course,
hold
I'm
on.
sure people have accused you. Yeah. They
It's
don't know
cost,
anything about
but it's
you.
cost
Right.
benefit, okay? Because I already look like a white nationalist, right? So I've already got the vibes going for me. So like,
No,
who
you
would
need
I
to
rather
shave your
have?
beard. You got to just get
Who,
the Ian Carroll
yeah,
mustache,
or
as
do
all
a.
the kids
I
are
had the
doing here.
mustache before, or
Right.
I'll
But
just
wait,
do this
the
and
second
just the beard.
problem. The second problem with it is that a lot of these mnemonic terms that you're talking about, okay, you'll have a group of someone, far left, far right, will have a term that they throw out there. And it kind of has like a dual meaning of it could be very, a dog whistle for something very extreme, but it kind of has the Mott and Bailey, like a front facing, maybe doesn't mean such an extreme thing. And they're kind of like throwing it out there and wanting to popularize it in order to draw people away from centrism, in order to draw people towards these outlets of extreme thoughts, of stupid thought, really.
Correct. That's one danger.
Right. But so to me, that's why I don't think it's useful necessarily to be like, I'm going to try to rehabilitate Zog. I just don't think it's going to work because of that.
What if by using a term like Zog, which again fundamentally you has the word Zionist in it, and
Hmm.
it naturally predisposes itself to be able to draw a differentiation between Zionist and Jew, which is important. So that's a critical aspect of using it. Now I say, well, the Nazis used it. It's like, okay, again, this is the socialism argument. You know, you call yourself a socialist, so are the Nazis. Like, whatever. If by using the term Zog and by signaling to people who actually do lean kind of like are Sam Hyde and Nick Fuentes sympathizers and all that and curious,
Mhm.
it's like I would rather have those people listen to me. And if by using a term like Zog, which in and of itself is not problematic, I have then good. Now, am I going to pay a
You're
price
going to
because
Daryl Davis them.
Daryl Davis has been my hero since day one?
There you go.
So, you know, I understand people's opposition to it, and admittedly, I'm not making Zog the topic of every video I make. Okay, it'll be every third or fourth video. Okay.
Well, I think Adam, you were talking about this study like a few weeks ago about how
I was talking about a study.
you were, yes, RFK, you were talking about a study
Cheryl,
that
there's a bomb in the hospital.
that was like what it was only like when someone listens to you talk, only 6% of what they process is the actual words you're saying.
It's
Oh, totally.
738:55. I got the right numbers now.
What is
Wow,
it?
okay.
Say this study. This sounds very vibes based. I like it.
So I mean specific any study with 7% in it is not very vibes based. Obviously someone's done some research there, right?
No, no. I mean, the study sounds like it's validating the
It's
vibes-based
validating vibes, yes, it
epistemology
is.
that I
Yeah. So
greatly admire.
when we communicate about our brains place emphasis on various things, according to this breakdown, 7% on the words that you're saying, 38% on your facial the tone of your voice, and 55% on your facial expressions and body language.
Right. So
Yeah.
the reason I bring that up is just
Wow, that's incredible information.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the words that you're writing out in your script are like completely immaterial to
Worthless,
like how
yes.
you deliver it.
Well, so it's you know, your argument for Zog and all that stuff, it's very intelligent, it's very head smart, right? But it's all
Let's cut it there.
7%.
Don't
It's
fight
all
it.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a
all just
7%.
That's
gonna
fine. All right,
get washed away
my fundamental thesis is
in the
there's
map.
look,
Okay.
my fundamental thesis is there's a tidal wave of anti-Israel sentiment that is growing. Much of
Yes.
it for valid reasons, but in that tidal wave is a lot of poisonous anti-Semitism that is
Right.
targeted towards Jewish people as a race. So we have two options. The tidal wave is coming. We have to figure out how to divert it, or we could build a barrier and just push it back and just condemn in silence, which is what the fucking Trump administration is doing. Again, Zog reaffirming its power and reality. You saw the clip of it's not enough to be anti-Semitic, you have to be anti-anti-Semitic.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's stupid.
And from my
Ibram X.
perspective,
Kendi, yes.
but it's like, how could any conservative or anyone who, was anti-woke see that clip and not immediately know this is the exact same fucking playbook? Zog should be destroyed, but it's not, because it's embedded deeply with political power and lobbying and shit. It's not about like ideology so much.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, there's this tide of anti-Israel sentiment coming for valid reasons. I think Israel, after the fucking paramedic thing, the killing the 15 paramedics and putting them in a mass grave and then lying and saying, well, they approach us with their lights off, and then the cell phone video footage came out with their lights on. That just came out. Now I have no problem saying fuck Israel. I hate Israel. It's a genocidal state. I was on the fence about that. I don't care now, because it's so fucking obvious how much they're lying and how absurd it is. Okay. And it genuinely does. And as a adherent of OG Jordan Peterson, I'm fully aware of the possibility and probability and plausibility of the shit that happened in Nazi Germany happening in modern states. And I genuinely believe the biggest contributor to the threat of the safety of Jewish people, like genetically Jewish people, is the association with Israel. That the Jewish state, the one and only Jewish state, is now doing all this insane fucking bullshit and lying and dragging the United States into a war and saying that it's not enough to be anti-Semitic, you have to be anti-anti-Semitic. So it's like, it is vitally important. It's a vitally important political project to separate being Jewish as a race from being a supporter of the state of Israel. And since that tide is coming, you got to figure out how to deal with it. Diversity of tactics. I'm happy to appeal to the kind of person who would otherwise fall into the Nick Fuentes, Sam Hyde camp by saying Zog and shit, and then making these points that I'm making now. And, someone else can say Zog is racist and all that. And
what's wrong with Sam Hyde? I thought he was an enlightened centrist.
Yeah, I know.
Now you're throwing Sam Hyde under the bus?
Well, listen, I appreciate it when 10 to 20 years from now, when they all come for the Jews. Can I hide in your basement?
Sitch, I will hide any anti-Zionist Jew in my basement.
That what if I'm
You
well,
told me you were going to hide in my basement, Stitch. I thought we were going to do karate in the garage and shit.
oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Will you?
I like that better
I'll let
actually.
you hide. You don't have to. You don't have to be anti-Zionist as long as you're not
Do they have
pro-Zionist.
earthquakes? Well, listen,
My
I,
garage has like a huge flat screen TV.
and Adam let me be as Zionist as I want because he doesn't care.
Fuck yeah. Are
Yeah,
you
but
kidding me?
I'm
Look,
not gonna
I'm a
look.
Zionist.
I'm not. I'm not gonna hide the Zionist Jews in my basement because they're gonna be the ones knocking at the door looking for the anti-Zionist Jews.
We
No, I think the anti-Semites in the hypothetical, it was the Jew haters were
We'll
coming
see.
for
We'll
the Jews.
look who's passing the hate speech. You see this Randy Fine congressman that just got elected?
No. Yes.
is there a Gaza version
Uh,
of Ages and Empires?
I'm
Can we
increasingly.
can we play that game?
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Come on, let's do it.
It's awful. What did Randy Fine say? That's the
There
guy
are
who
no
just got elected in
innocents.
Florida,
Yeah, there
right?
are no innocents in Palestine. They deserve blood and
He
death.
said
Blood
that?
should. Yes, there are no innocents in
Holy
Palestine.
shit.
Innocent Palestinian civilians don't exist. They're demons.
Well, look, that's a bit excessive. Okay.
Yeah, now he's a U.S. congressman.
Oh
So
wow.
now
Holy shit.
my government has straight up like genocidal people in it. And this is the broader issue that I'm going to do a deep dive in. Something about Jordan
Listen,
Peterson.
he
Something
called
something.
himself the Hebrew Hammer. Okay. He's a funny Jew. He's just a funny guy.
Yes. One of the reasons this whole issue is salient is because um the basically modern secular morality. I'm curious if you guys would disagree with this. I don't think you would. Um, there's a religious historian called Tom Holland, not the actor Tom Holland, but the religious historian, who says that basically modern secular morality is a religion, except that the characters are Hitler is Satan, the Holocaust is the hell, and you know, being anti-racist and all that is like the way to be moral, right? Like we live in a you have all these atheists that have, well, there's no God, morality is constructed, but will be as, religiously motivated to clamp down on racism and eugenics and all that stuff. It's like fair, but that is the modern secular religion. Okay, so when we all were in school, we learned about the Holocaust. They fucking played the diary or the Anne Frank movie or what, or I remember crying like in seventh grade while watching that movie.
What a wimp.
Yeah, yeah, I know. That's what my friends told me, but I was actually, I felt bad. I felt bad for her. And our whole moral system was like, yeah, imagine if you were in World War II, like the moral thing to, or we're in Nazi Germany, the moral thing to do would be to fight back against it. It's like, well, now I live in a country where my U.S. congressman is saying that shit as kids are getting blown up and my tax dollars are funding it and we're being told it's a good thing or it's not happening. If it is happening, it's a good thing. And it's like, it creates a personal moral dilemma of like, um, what the fuck? I thought, I'd like to think of myself as well. If we were in a terrible moral situation, I would be able to do something about it. But it
Mhm.
appears all I can do is just say zonk, which is also part of the reason, even though this is not smart, it's my emotional gut thing that I lean into it is like everyone who gets mad about me saying a term, but not mad about the fact that you have a U.S. congressman saying this type of shit, straight up genocidal bullshit. It's like, get your priorities straight.
Mhm. Well, it does make it easier for the other side to just strawman you too.
But that makes me easier to appeal to the right wingers who would otherwise fall into the Nick Fuentes camp.
You're gonna catch them. Listen, maybe you
I mean,
can catch them. Okay, you will
this
be
is
the
what I
catcher
said.
in the ride, the catcher in the frog.
Look, everyone has to play into their their mimetic aesthetic.
Okay, that's
Okay.
true.
Do you guys know
That's true.
CJ the X by any chance?
CJ the X.
CJ the X.
I know CJ, amazing atheist.
No, CJ the X. You would
No,
like CJ the X, I think. CJ the X
no.
is a left-wing video essayist, but he is very he like cites Jordan Peterson clips unironically in a positive light. Um, and like lays out like the philosophical pragmatism, stuff like that, right? And so he takes Jordan Peterson's ideas and packages them in a way that appeals to an entire group of people that us three would never be able to appeal to simply because of how we look, right?
Oh,
Like
is he one of
Shuds.
them
Yeah, he's like super
minorities?
queer leftist video essay, non-binary, right? like
Gotcha.
wears women's clothes and all that stuff, right?
Oh my God.
But he's injecting straight up Jordan Peterson philosophical, you know, concepts
Hmm.
into a audience that probably needs it, right? And then when I do my videos about like archetypal memes or stuff like that, synthesizing Jordan Peterson, all that stuff, okay, that's going to appeal to a certain population. But you need both people. You need both. You need a diversity of tactics to appeal to the widest range of people. So if I'm against, Zog, then okay, fine. I'll be the right wing vanguard over here to appeal to the more right wing people who like to say that. Again, it's not just right wing people who say that. I've seen in
Right.
my own personal life left wing people continually picking up on that. But then maybe you have people like, I don't know, who's a very liberal left mainstream like Gabor Mate. Like Gabor Mate is or Glenn Greenwald or something like that. Like he's obviously not leaning into the Zog stuff, but he's very, or Dave Smith. Although Dave Smith's right wing. So I don't know. Gabor Mate or Norman Finkelstein is the left wing anti-Zog person. So it's like, fine, we use different tactics, but we're trying to get to the same goal here.
Maybe
Does that make
it
sense?
could work. I understand exactly what you're saying. It makes sense.
I'm
I don't know
entirely
if it's
sympathetic.
gonna
I'm
happen,
entirely
but
sympathetic to people who are like, dude, it just seems like you're just flirting with the far right just for the sake of it. And it's like, um, you should be skeptical of me. And
there
I
you go.
encourage people to.
Don't be
It's like Peter
skeptical.
Baelish, right? It's
We
like
like
Peter
Jung
Baelish
here.
to, yeah. It's like Peter Baelish to Ned Stark. Mistrusting me was the wisest thing you've done since you got here.
You're not stop. You're not a Peter Baelish like figure.
Well, I
Okay.
am. Well, no,
No.
not in immorality, but in terms of
Right.
capability and manipulating shit behind the scenes.
Oh,
I'm organizing
okay.
a radical centrist
Aren't you a
takeover
humble,
for ranked
humble
choice voting.
merchant?
What do you
J
guys
Mac,
think?
our surrogate father for $50 says, "Hey, Young, didn't know you were out in Tennessee. My family is all out there. My brother is the state legislature as well. I get to hear all about the sausage is made there, and met a bunch of politicians like Marsha Blackburn."
Wow. It's almost like speaking truth and just honestly saying things out loud and engaging in dialogue for the sake of productive discussion merits fruits that could grow into a very plentiful centrist olive tree
True,
grove.
true.
I don't live in Tennessee. I live in Texas.
Wow,
But I just gave that as an example.
lame. How do you feel
I,
about these tariffs on a completely different subject?
Yeah. I brought
um,
up the watch together too. I don't know if you sent him the watch together link.
I'll send the link.
But we could get his feedback on some of this Tucker Carlson stuff. I don't know if
what's going on?
you're a
How do
huge
you-
Tucker Carlson fan, right?
No, I recognize the role that Tucker Carlson plays in the Great Meme Wars. That doesn't make
What
me
do
a
you
fan.
think that is?
He is one of the leading figures on the dissident right, so to speak.
Mhm.
Did you know he got molested by a succubus?
I think I did hear something about that, right? Like he got attacked by a demon.
He got attacked by a demon at night. Yes.
He
Yep,
came
like I
home
said,
with
he's-
lipstick on
he's
his
a
collar. He's like,
lying-
honey, it was a
he's a-
succubus from
Mhm.
last night.
He's a slick talking narcissist like Gavin Newsom.
He's a huge liar. Yeah. It's crazy.
True. So is Donald Trump.
Yeah, but
So is Joe Biden. So is Kamala
It's-
Harris.
why does Donald Trump lying, which I don't like, but it definitely rubs me less wrong than Tucker Carlson's lies?
Because Tucker Carlson is like creepily deceptive because the smarter you are and the better sense of like how you're being perceived,
Hmm.
then when you manipulate those perceptions to advance a lie, it's even worse than just being a bombastic like fuck no, I didn't do that. That never happened. That never happened. Where it's like Tucker when he denied evolution on the Joe Rogan podcast, he's like, I'm pretty sure it's like Darwinian evolution, like that's over. Or whatever his fucking laugh is. It's like
Right.
Oh,
The
his
fake
laugh
laugh.
is ridiculous.
because laughter is supposed to be genuine. Fake laughter is bad enough, but then when it's used to advance a lie, it's even worse. So I don't like Tucker Carlson, but unfortunately, he fulfills an important and necessary role in the meme wars right now. It'd be nice for him to be supplanted. But
Yes.
we don't have
Well, I
anyone
guess
else right now.
to
Why'd you
answer
bring him
my
up,
own
though?
question, Trump kind of has the vibe of like the bragging guy at the bar who's like telling you a tall tale about something, and you're like kind of know it's bullshit, but you're like entertained by it. And whether that's actually how he is, it's just the vibe he gives off. Where
Right.
Tucker gives off the Peter Baelish vibe of like, oh, this is a person who just 100% knows that they're, at least to me, is 100% knows that they're just lying and bullshitting for some sort of nefarious
Yes.
purpose, which I think I don't even think Tucker has any ideological purpose. I think he just wants to make as much money and gain as much, political power as possible.
I think he genuinely does hate the elite class that he rails against, even though he's a part of it, because
Mm,
precisely because he's a part of it. He's talked about this before, where he said if you look at like the historical figures who were most successful in pushing back against different classes, the royalty, the capitalist class, so on and so forth, they're all people that came from that class because they got the
right.
inside view, right? And I think so. I think he's driven by he genuinely hates like Victoria Nuland and the neocon establishment and all of them. And
Yeah, but I think
so it's
he hates
unfortunate
it.
that he's motivated by that,
Mhm.
but that does make him directionally useful oftentimes.
I think he hates it though, not for ideological purposes. I think he hates it the way that like
Oh
the
yeah, because they were
over
like mean to him or something. Like
yeah, the
literal, like it's personal
yes,
drama
right. The overproduction of elites, a lot of these socialists are like kind of mad that they're not,
in the
welcome in
club.
some sort
Yeah.
of elite circle or something. That's kind of the vibe I get from
Yeah,
Tucker.
it's like Destiny hates conservatives, I think, because he hates his parents and how like he's talked about how his mom's like straight up Alex Jones level conspiracy theorist and he's super intelligent and she's not. And so he isn't he's talked about that. Well, didn't he say what did he say? If his if his mom died, he'd be like, well, I wouldn't have to pay for end of life care, so that's good. I got that going for me or something like that. It's like it's all
You
those
mean
kinds of
if
jokes.
she was at the rally
Yeah, yeah,
that the
that's
guy
right.
got
Yeah, yeah,
shot?
whatever that
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But point is, it's like, well, Destiny still is useful, even though he's driven by motivations that are ultimately destructive for him and others. Like the whole, I cite this example to him, the Twitter files. When that first came out, I was like, oh, I guess Democrats were censoring Republicans. That's basically my vibe of the story. Then I
Right.
watched the debate that Destiny had with not Schellenberger, but two of the journalists.
Oh, he didn't talk to Tahibi. It was the other guy. I
No, it
know
was
who you're
not
talking about.
Taibbi and not
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Schellenberger. It was someone else.
I
Two
remember
two
who you're
other
talking
guys.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Destiny went through and pointed out like, look, it's very clear that the Republicans were doing this too, which and Elon Musk sort of kind of picked and choose what he let get revealed or whatnot. And I've
Hmm.
seen that more and more be like, damn, Destiny was 100% right on that. Just Glenn Greenwald saying the same thing. Um, so I
That idea
view
has never broken into the mainstream political internet thought process, though. No one
what has
understands
not
that. What you just said. Like I understand it, and I had to. I mean, I'm pretty sure I debated Connor about this exact talking point, or maybe it was Rod or someone.
on
But
the
that
Twitter files
idea,
particularly, or
yeah, about
the
the
broader
Twitter files,
concept.
like just 99% of the population doesn't understand that or know that.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So
It's
Destiny's
sad,
fulfilling an important role despite
right?
him basically being motivated by fuck conservatives. Like, okay, well, the conservatives are wrong sometimes. So if I can guarantee that if anyone is going to snuff out where the conservatives are wrong, it'll be
Yeah.
Destiny. Um,
Sometimes scorpions, you need a scorpion to throw at someone or put in their
exactly.
shoe. Yeah, definitely.
Sled dogs are useful when you hitch them to the sleigh properly.
Right. Just don't let
Um,
them, raise your children.
Tariffs.
Tariffs.
I'm against the neoliberal status quo. I think the fundamental flaw in neoliberal economics, which is our current basic economic system, is
Hmm.
believing that um, economic utility is a function of driving down the cost of material goods. That is simply not the case. At a certain point, the margin it's a there's a term for it in economics, but there's a point where it's the marginal utility, the marginal benefit of reducing the cost of your TV or your iPhone by another dollar actually produces no benefit. And at a certain point, making electronics so cheap where we're just constantly sucked into our iPhones all day actually probably produces negative effects on society.
Hmm.
So broadly speaking, I think we're at a point where as long as our commodities can be shored up, food production and housing can be shored up, then I don't care if an iPhone costs $2,300. In fact, I would say it's probably a good thing in the long run that Apple doesn't make as much money by being able to sell as many cheap new iPhones. So it can't afford to pay its top engineers as much. So then those top engineers go to a company that's somewhere else. And instead of making $300 working for Apple, $300,000 working for Apple, they make $200,000 working for, a company that comes up with like medical devices or something that are useful and shit
Hmm.
like that. And so that's a very, optimistic view of the situation, or
Hmm.
at least.
Do
My,
you do
but
you
but the
think?
tariffs themselves are fucking ridiculous.
Okay.
44% on China is gonna fuck us.
Right.
It
Right.
will
Right.
drive up the price of food and housing and all that stuff.
In everything, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
So but I do think I said that I did it. I released a video today. The meme argument is that this is a negotiating tactic. The problem with
Hmm.
that is it is true. He's done that and he's proven successful because he has levied threatened tariffs on Colombia and then gotten them to concessions immediately and withdrew the tariffs. And he did the same thing with Mexico in 2019 to get them to deploy more National Guard on the border. He's also lied about it, like with Canada. You remember when he said that he got Trudeau to agree to all these concessions?
And he didn't. They were previously
Yeah, they'd
agreed.
already been
Yeah.
agreed upon.
Right,
So
right.
I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking this is he doesn't actually achieve anything with these tariff negotiations, but he has proven it to happen in the past,
I
and
was
I do
more
think it
on
will happen.
I
Um,
was more on the side of this seems like a negotiation tactic because the alternative is so stupid.
Correct.
I mean, I thought the same thing about Russia invading Ukraine. I turned out to be wrong about that. But then, and we can watch it in a second. Lutnick was on MSNBC, and he's kind of changed my calculation because he's really pushing back pretty hard against the idea that these are negotiations. Now, it's still possible because it's not like we don't have a history of everyone around Trump saying one thing and then Trump just says whatever the fuck, like just completely ignores everything they're saying, right? And I think this is kind of part of the interesting thing that came out with the whole signal leak is that I think I don't think, or let me phrase it like this: people I think have the wrong idea about how the Trump administration operates. They think that Trump is sitting there in the, in the Oval Office and he's like, okay, Johnny, here's the plan. I'm going to say X and then you're going to say Y and it's all negotiation tactic and blah, 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 blah. When in reality, my vibe intuition from all this is that no one knows what the fuck Trump wants, including everyone around him. And I think that that's part of Trump's tactic is to just be sort of intentionally vague about the goal of whatever the policy is so that whatever the outcome is, he can try to shift towards like, well, that was the goal from the beginning. And then everyone will applaud and say, aha, he always knew that's the 10D chess. So I don't think the people around him even know necessarily, including Lutnick, including the Treasury Secretary. I don't think they even understand what his own motivation is in terms of these negotiations or these tariffs, I should say.
I agree, and I think they even have different motivations from each other, so they're like competing over
Yes,
influence over the bull in the china shop.
right.
Do you ever watch Tucker Carlson interviews?
Sure.
He interviewed Scott Bessent, the Treasury
Yeah, we were
Secretary.
going
Yeah,
to
we're
watch
gonna
some of that
watch it.
today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's good in that it helps understand how Scott Bessent thinks, whether or not it justifies anything. There's some good stuff in it. Like, for example, they want to use the tariffs to fund tax cuts for the working class. Okay, in theory, fine. But if it's that, then it is not a negotiating tactic. You're actually relying on it for revenue, right? Like
Hmm.
if you're saying we're going to rely on the tariffs for revenue, then it's not just a negotiating tactic. Because if you get rid of them, then you don't have that revenue to rely on to fulfill whatever program you're trying to fund.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I
they
think
want to
So
what,
do huge tax cuts,
I
so
think
those tax cuts are not
here's
dependent upon the tariffs.
like the no taxing
Well,
overtime
yeah,
and all that.
if they pass the tax cut bill that they're trying to get through, then they need to offset that income. So the tariffs can't go away if they're gonna use the tariffs to offset the income, and they've already passed the bill.
Correct. I think Scott mentions in that they need to pass legislation that like creates all of the incentives and structures for corporations to repatriate, right? Like the initial Trump tax cuts, I think were pretty good in part because they allowed assets overseas to be repatriated to the United States and not be taxed. So it said, hey, we're going to tariff all these other countries. If you start doing capital investments here at home, we'll make it even easier for you. So there's ways to do it. My point about me being against neoliberalism. I'm broadly in favor of, um, yeah, let's bring manufacturing back home. Let's reshore
mhm.
supply chains. People say, oh well, why would we have Americans do something when we can do it for cheaper overseas? It's like because, and this is again missing from the economic calculation. Having a stable job is a good in and of itself. And so people say, well, like, why would I pay someone more to produce less of an efficient to get less of an output? Because ultimately we're concerned with the output. It's like, no, no, no. The act of employing someone does have utility in and of itself. The libertarian argument is like, okay, well, then you should just pay people to dig holes in the desert, right? If the act of employment is a good in and of itself. It's like, and yes, there's merit to that where it's like, you can't just say the fact that people are employed is creating value in and of itself. But you also can't dismiss the fact that people having stable jobs and just having a job at a corporation gives them community, gives them stability, and allows them to raise a family and all that stuff. So it's not as simple as just saying all the only economic calculus that matters is how do we drive down the cost of goods and services. It's like that's not. And again,
Right.
all of the indicators of well-being with mental health, suicide rates, and all that stuff are decoupled and declining when you compare to GDP per capita. So I'm
I
in favor of
mhm.
reshoring and all that, and I think they can do it. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. I told you guys beforehand I have no money in the market. Fortunately, I pulled it out actually just recently.
Good for you.
Um, but
You're gonna miss it when it goes to the
well,
moon.
that's the thing. So I
Now he's
suspect
gonna buy in the
tomorrow.
dip, obviously.
I
Come
bet
on.
what happened. I bet what happened. This is my bet. I
Yeah.
bet
Okay.
Hold on. So Treasury Secretary says they think they can raise 300 to 600 billion with the tariffs.
over 10 years, right?
We take in. Oh, is it over 10 years? Because that would change everything. We take in 2024. We took in 2.4 trillion in revenue. Is that right? I can't. Is that
I could
right?
maybe I'm wrong
In
about the
total,
10-year thing.
in total tax revenue, we
That's
only took in 2.6,
2.4 trillion. That's
2.4.
49% of total revenue.
Right.
So, and that's from income taxes.
Hmm.
So we're also, I guess business taxes are is part of it as well.
I think that Lutnick and Besant, I think they want, my intuition is that they want these high tariffs to be in place. I think Trump doesn't. I think he wants just the flat 10% tariff on everybody, and he'd be happy with like no one have any tariffs on America, and then we just have a flat 10% on everyone else, and he'd be fine with that. And then
Trump
that would
wants to
be
be
the idea
remembered
of
as like
revenue.
a transformational president.
Well,
That's
yeah,
the
he does.
only reason he's doing any of this shit.
Well, yeah, I do think that. Well, we'll talk about that when it comes up because I do think people were talking about, oh, he wants to do the next, Brentwood, whatever the fuck it's called,
Renwood's agreement or whatever.
yeah, like completely change the world order. I don't think that's going to work for reasons which we'll talk about later.
Well,
But
look, Hoover changed the world order too.
Yeah, look,
yeah, he did.
I'm
Right. Why do you?
we have to get away from the neoliberal economic status
I
quo.
agree. I agree, and I think that was Obama's
What's wrong
great
with
failing.
neoliberalism?
That was Obama's great failing.
It's
Is that
gay. It's fucking gay, dude.
that was the time to bring the change, and he never did. And I think that's what caused the situation we're in right now. But
Yeah.
I noticed something today, which I haven't really heard other people talking about, which is why it's kind of interesting to me that Trump and his secretaries that are coming out here, none of them are really there's a mimetic weapon that's on the table here that none of them have picked up, or at least if they have, it's been very slight, which is why is the left supporting child slave labor in terms of not wanting manufacturing to come back
That's a
to
good point.
America? And why do you think it is, both you and Adam, why do you think it is that Trump's not using that weapon?
I have
I
seen
can't
that
imagine he
talking
just hasn't.
point from people who are in favor of this. But I
Yeah,
don't
but
think they're
not from
making it a
them.
central and leaning it thing. Yeah, because everyone knows to be hypocrite. They don't because everyone knows to be fucking
You just think
bullshit.
they don't care? That's why.
I don't. It's like when JD Vance went to Greenland and started
Yeah.
he gave a speech about how like the Danish are oppressing the Greenland people, and it's like, bro, we just want to buy this shit. Don't go there and
Right.
get all moral, like get mad, like you're like he looked like he was getting mad, like you have oppressed the people here. It's like you didn't give a shit until Daddy Trump told you to go over there to go buy it. So shut the fuck up.
Is it child labor though? I mean, I know they have sweatshops and stuff like that, but
Well, whatever.
I'm sure
They-
they
there's
do.
not enough
Sweatshops.
children in in Vietnam to
True.
sew all these
Right.
garments.
This is a separate issue, and then I'll roll out and let you guys review the Scott Besson video.
You're not going to watch some of it with us?
China.
What are you doing?
No, I got to roll.
Where are you going? What's going on?
I've got work to do, Adam. I've
He's an
got
Autobot. He's got to roll. He's got to
I've
go
got a-
canvas for ranked choice voting.
I've got a radical centrist platform to unite. You
You
guys
got
can
a
just sit and shoot
meeting
the,
with
what is
Nick
it?
Fuentes after this or something? You got to
He's got to go hang out with the
I'm in a group chat with me,
something's
Nick
going on?
Fuentes,
You going for some
Destiny,
chicken and waffles or something?
and Candace
Yes.
Owens. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
and Sam
China.
Hyde.
Do you guys know the Peter Zeihan thesis on China?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's
It's just going to
decoupling.
collapse
I mean, I read
Yes.
his
because of
book.
demographics.
Yeah, the demographic.
Now he seems to. It's funny. He's been talking about decoupling for like 3 years now. Trump is
he made a
finally
video.
going both feet into decoupling, and he's like freaking out.
To me, it's
You predicted this, Zion.
yeah. Well, China. It does like Ray Dalio came out with a book that said like he looks at the rise and fall of empires, and the United States one is in its decline, and then the next one is going to be China. It's like you're forgetting that China is going to suffer severe demographic collapse. So who is it? Who's the next superpower after the United States if it's not the United States? Is it just a multipolar world at this point, and everyone's sort of in an equilibrium?
It's going to be
Chi-
whoever becomes the dominant robot AI country.
Yeah, I know that's so fucked.
That's the answer. Yeah. I mean, that's what I think Trump should be
I'm a
doing.
robophobe.
Fuck all this.
I'm a
Fuck all this
robophobe.
other shit.
I embrace
Okay,
robophobia. We should
you
kill
can be a
robots.
robot phobe as much as
Really?
you
I
want.
was in Austin.
Oh,
I was in
man.
Austin, and
It doesn't matter.
for the first time I saw one of those fucking delivery bots
You
that
just
like
punched it. You
I'm
punched
legit.
it right out of
I'm
the sky.
legitimately like.
He's just mad because it smelled
I'm
like
not going to say
pizza.
this because it's a public stream and everything I say is a joke anyway. But like, I'm going to do something about these fucking.
You
things,
want to have
okay?
sex with a robot?
I'm gonna fuck these robots up. Okay, literally.
I'm gonna impregnate all these robots and take over their demographic.
Um.
Yeah, but I understand you're robot phobe. All these other people are blah 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 blah. Okay, it doesn't matter though. That's the future. We're all gonna have to learn to deal with it. That's gonna be the dominant way to.
It's gonna be great. What are you
True,
talking
which is partly why I think that bolsters the case for reindustrialization because you have smart factories and AI assisted.
The jobs aren't coming back, but we want the factories here.
No, I've worked for big industrial logistics companies, and I've been in their giant distribution centers. And it's like the classic thing we learn in high school about like the cotton gin and with slaves.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, slaves could only pick so much cotton in a given day, but then the cotton gin allowed it to pick 10 times as much. So you'd think, oh, well, that makes slaves cheaper, and you only need a few of them. It's like, no.
It doesn't.
It made slaves more valuable because each one could pick more cotton, and so you got more output total. And so I do think there is a strong case. It certainly is the case in certain companies and industries, but on the principle of, well, if you have AI and a lot of automation, you can actually make each individual human worker.
Humanoid robots are a completely different animal, though. Obviously.
Yeah, that's true. That's I'm Will Smith to the iRobot, just see him and shoot him on sight. I'm thinking, but
I mean, yeah, if you've got like, if you need a person to manage the robot, fine. But if the robot is just
managing another robot, you have the robot overseer with a little whip.
You don't need to.
We need a Butlerian jihad. That's the ultimate terminating point of radical centrism is a Butlerian jihad. We solar flare AI, and we say fuck it. We have to go back to the beginning. We refuse to do AI. We make it illegal. Okay, I don't know how, but collateral damage. We'll figure it out after the fact.
Do you think that the Amazon floor robots are gonna call the overseer robots like a robot slur?
Buckethead.
Mm-hmm.
What do they say in Clone Wars? I think it's bucketheads or something like
that. Maybe they had some slur in iRobot, didn't they?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But
I hope it's not just the N-word, but with an R.
Rigger.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not. Well,
house riggers.
Rigger. These fucking riggers. All right. Anything else?
All right. This was great. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we'll talk again.
It's always good talking to you.
Yes. Look, the state of centrism is in great peril. We'll need to.
It is.
That's what we wanted to hear.
We'll need to stay in touch and revitalize it.
Touch tips every so
have fun with your have fun with your canvassing. I'll let you guys touch tips.
Thank you.
I'll be playing the Ages of
Such
Empires Gaza edition.
Oh my god.
Guys,
all right.
Peace, guys.